Good morning, everybody. This is Joe. I'm very happy. So before we actually start, let me do a quick rundown of what happened. So today there is a Taiwan foreign language team meeting, and that's why I'm here all dressed up differently to share with them the important work that you all have been doing and that you are all committed to do. And that's why I'm here to share what you have done and what we have done and achieved as a team. So I'm not here. I'm not at Hualien, but it doesn't matter because the work is still carried on. And today we have a very special guest. And as you know that from last week, and also from what Master said today in this morning's Dharma talk, April of this year is a very special month. It's a very special time. Starting back in April 6th, when our volunteers and disciples from 20 countries came back to Hualien. They were there to represent their respective countries and also to share what they have done, their efforts. And last week, we did a little bit sharing of some of these countries. But today, we are going to share the stories of our African volunteers. And that is the content for today. And very special today, our presenter who had never shared with any of us before is Debbie. And she and I were the two of the team, the two people on the team, the only two on the team that have been with the entire conference. So that's why I did the first sharing, and she's doing the second. Now she's never, or I don't think she's ever done this English sharing before, and she had been preparing this for a whole week. And so without further ado, let us give her a very warm gratitude, and also let's warmly receive her for what she will be sharing with us about the stories of Africa. So Hualien, please continue. Thank you, Sister Debbie.
Yes, good morning again. And brothers and sisters, I'm Debbie, and it is my pleasure to share with you today. And it's raining here in Hualien, and today is a really special day in my life. I'm really nervous, actually, because I need to share with my poor English. So please kindly bear with me for the next 20 minutes. But don't worry, I'm sure Brother Joe would take over at any time when I need help. So when I need to prepare the sharing today, I look through again the PPT found. You know what? There are 525 pages in total. I really did not know where to start. If I were to share in Chinese or Cantonese today, I would not feel that much pressure on me. So anyway, I will try to do something different today. So first, let us have a look on some of the pictures from the PPT. So this is the map of Africa, and so we start from this one, and this is the meal distribution to the children. From Monday to Friday, they provide lunch to 3 kindergartens and 3 primary schools, so total 2,900 students. And this is another one. They provide 6,000 meals per day, and from 3 times per week. And this is the city volunteers. They have continued to provide care to the neighborhoods, to distribute the blankets and food. And so you can see from the disasters in Africa, the city volunteers will do all the relief aid to distribute the rice, the food, the blankets, and also the foldable bed. And this is the pictures of the rice distribution in Africa. And they will also have the Buddha Day ceremony and teach the children to wash parents' feet to express their gratitude. And they also promoting the concept of environment protection and and now it's page 18. They have the training course constantly, and they will do the sharing at night, and in the early morning, they will do the morning service. And on page 21, this is how they prepare their meals for 6 days. On page 23, they will listen to Master's teaching every day, and they will awaken their love to help those in need. And on page 25, you can see they bow after the distribution to show their gratitude. So I'll go back to the first page, sorry. So the first thing came to my mind is that the volunteers, nothing is impossible to them. They will do everything they could to help the poor and to give the help to the others. So when we talk about the volunteers in Africa, I can always see the smiles on Master's face, and I can feel how Master thanks them from the bottom of her heart. Because they love those whom Master loves, they follow Master's teaching by their action. As we know from the pictures, the volunteers in Africa make home visits door to door and care for the needy. They do the recycling to protect the environment, distribute hot meals and rice, and help the victims from the flood and many, many other relief aids. So their spiritual strength is truly remarkable. They hold training constantly and bring together volunteers across Africa. And they listen to Master's teaching every day. And they will take notes and do the spiritual sharing. So what they do is really very touching to me. And I was wondering why are they so different? How they did it, and why they are willing to walk the Bodhisattva path. So I think the answer is that they listen with deep faith. They truly believe that the Sutra can be used in their daily life. And they can feel the Dharma joy gained from the giving all their love and asking for nothing in return. So with my personal experience, when I first came back to the Jing's abode, I always try to find some time to be alone. Even 5 minutes, 10 minutes will be fine. But as time goes by, one day I realized that if I give out that 10 minutes of my time, I will definitely feel much happier. So I think the African volunteers are the same. They give out their love without asking for anything in return, and they will gain the Dharma joy much, much more. So there are city volunteers serving in 7 Africa countries. They have truly taken in Master's teachings and spread them with love far and wide. So with their footsteps in Africa, they are committed to purifying people's hearts and minds. You can feel their strong belief in their work. Their spirit and core values really serve as an example for us to follow. But when we are willing to give of ourselves, does that mean it will be accepted by others? Just like the volunteers in Africa, will they face any difficulties when they are doing good deeds? And of course, I think we will face all kinds of challenge, like other city volunteers anywhere in the world. I think gratitude, respect, and love is what we should always keep in mind. And I remember one phrase that Master teach us. So please go to page 28. I remember Master once said, 恶来善往. It means we should make up a bad affinity in a positive way. If someone is mean to you, you should not pay back the same. We should open our hearts to accept and forgive him, and thank him for giving us the opportunity to cultivate ourselves. If we keep Buddha and Master's teaching in our hearts, we will be able to stay on the right path. We will speak kind words, think good thoughts, do good deeds. There will be no language barrier, no boundary. Different races and religions will be in harmony. So in reading the Sutra, we should not just read the words, but rather we should try to understand the spirit behind the words. What the words are trying to convey, like we close our eyes and try to feel the breath of the earth. Maybe we take some time and think how we can put Dharma teaching into our hearts and live them out in our lives. We can look at the shining black pearl of Africa. Be willing to do, be happy to bear. Make great vows and cherish the time to serve others. We will eventually find our Buddha nature and wisdom. So just do it and be mindful, as Master always reminds us. And lastly, always the same, Master's mission as our mission. And that's my short sharing for today. And thank you, brothers and sisters, for being here with me.感恩. Is Brother Joe anything to say? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Debbie. I think that was it was wonderful to be able to summarize, as Sister Debbie had said, that the entire African volunteer sharing was actually for more than 500 pages, and it was indeed very difficult for her to condense all of that into 30 minutes, but she did it in 10. She did it in 10. But anyway, the most important thing is, I think I wanted to add on to more. I want to add on to more of this feeling. First of all, Master today, in today's morning Dharma talk, she talked about Singapore. And I wanted to add on to that. In Singapore, actually this happened about 2 days ago, on April 20th. On April 20th, when there was a closing ceremony. That was the day of our 51st anniversary. And there was a ceremony, there was a gathering of all the volunteers, whether from Taiwan or from overseas, that had came and to celebrate. And the volunteers from Singapore, they shared that how come that Master had never been to any other country other than Taiwan. She had never stepped out of the national border. Okay, so how is it possible? How is it possible that everywhere, every city location is the same? And so what they shared was, this is just like the seed of the tree. The seed has the same DNA regarding how to grow. And no matter where you put it, whether you plant it in the soil in Africa or in Singapore or in Australia or in the Americas, it will all grow out to be the same. And that is very important. And Master said that that is right. All the tree grow up to be the same, whether you or I, whether you're from Taiwan or from Malaysia or from all the different countries, whatever the background, once we are in Tzu Chi, we are taking this role and we are taking this DNA as our own, and we are growing the tree. And that will be the same. And Master said that is because all of our roots, all the trees are growing in different countries, but their roots are actually all connected. And that is what our Dharma lineage is. No matter how far we are, no matter what kind of soil we grow out of, we have the same DNA coding, and our roots are all connected. And this roots that's connected, it goes far beyond this lifetime. It's actually many, many, many lifetimes. And as I shared last week, it seems like that for the African volunteers, or maybe even the volunteers that do not speak the same language, they actually, because they have followed Master for lifetimes, that they are able to understand the teachings more thoroughly. Okay, and so Master said, it is thanks to Tzu Chi and thanks to the volunteers that even in countries where there were never any possibility of Buddhism, now there are. So in Africa, Master said, in the poorest of the countries, in Africa, in the southern part of Africa, there are now 7 countries that our volunteers have set foot on. And in the richest of the country, whether you're talking about developed countries, in the North America, you have Canada and you have the United States. In Asia, you have Hong Kong, you have Singapore. There are also people spreading the Dharma. But you can never imagine, without this Dharma, how would we be able to convert and to transform people's lives? Because in Africa, their lives, as Master said this morning, and I was so very happy that Master had pretty much said most of what we wanted to say today. And that's why Debbie's sharing was very short, because Master has shared most of the important things already. Was that they were already, even though they were poor, but they were rich and wealthy. They have the inner wealth in their heart, that they are able to understand that what's inside them is more important than the physical wealth that they have. And how do you get them to feel that? It is actually through Buddhism. And so it is with that. And I would always like to say that in this month, there were not just the African volunteers, but also there was another guest whose name is Bruce Knotts, who is the director of the UN NGO, DPI NGO, which is the Department of Public Information, and a part of the NGO branch, the director, and who actually came back in the just last week, and who was a disciple of Master. And I'm sure if you follow the news, you know that he had been part of the entire preparation work, and that he was around doing all these work at home, preparing for the arrival of all the guests and of all the disciples and brothers and sisters on the 20th. So he was there, and this is what Master was talking about. From the poorest of the poor to the rich and also the powerful, who has the capability to be able to influence the UN. These two groups are willing to promote and also to push the what's needed, and also provide the relief of the suffering because of Buddhism. And that is what Master said her work in the past 50 years is all that much worthwhile. There are some stories that I would like to share about the African volunteers that I think were very worthwhile. The first one, it was not easy for our volunteers to push to push Tzu Chi onto these countries that have never, ever seen Buddhist or very rarely seen Chinese or Asians before. So when Master years ago said, when there were only 5 countries, I think this was 3 years ago, I think Master misspoke. She didn't realize that there were only 5. She said that, oh, so thank you. Today, there are 6 countries in Africa. And so after she said it, our representatives, the volunteers from Africa, they actually stood up. And after Master had finished, they stood up and say, Master, there are currently only 5 countries that we have volunteers in. And thank you for your blessing. We will now work on the 6th. So to me, at the time, Master had only made a mistake in speaking, but who knows? Maybe she didn't. Maybe that was her way of encouraging the disciples. So they got it. See, the African volunteers, they got it. They stood up and they said, we understand what you meant. We need to expand and we need to reach out to the 6th country. And they did. And now there are 7 in total. And one of the countries that they reached out to was Namibia. And this particular country was especially hard. In the African volunteer sharing, they said they did the complete thing just like any other country. When they went to Lesotho, when they went to Mozambique, or when they went to Zimbabwe, they had this particular team of Taiwanese, very, very dedicated Chinese volunteers, and they have a team of African volunteers together. They always go out together, they share the principles, and they share with how they're going to do this to push and to spread the ideas of how everybody can actually teach, how everybody can actually reach out and help everybody else. So their team got together and then they went to Namibia by airplane. The first time they go there, they found these NGOs working in Namibia, and already they have a very good bond. And they said, well, how are you able to do this? They ask us all the questions of what we have done in the African countries. And we share with them how we do it in all these countries. And what's most amazing is that we all agreed on how they could help us and how we can work together and cooperate. They provided us with lodging and transportation. And so that our volunteers, when they go over to Namibia, they have a place to stay, okay? And it was prepared for us. But little did we know that when we thought everything was smooth, it wasn't. Shortly after our team had returned, all these cooperations, for whatever reason, they all went back on their words. They all went back on what they said they were going to do. Whether it was because of religion, whether it was because of race, whatever the reason, they all back out and they stopped. And so our team didn't give up. They said, well, all the things that we said we're going to do, all the things that they said that they were going to help us with, it's okay. We're going to go there again. So the same team go by airplane again, and they went to the same place. And this time they did not. And this time they did not. Go to these organizations. They directly go to the slums. They directly go to the places that needed help the most. And then they try to go there and find help, whoever needs help. And our volunteers do what they do. They go in, they start singing, they help the people they see, and then they go in, and whoever that's there, they would share what they have done in all the other 6 countries in Africa. And it all seems perfectly okay. There are local people, a nurse that said, yes, what you have done is wonderful. I'll be here to help with you guys, and I welcome you to come again. And this is something that's beautiful. We're going to continue. So our volunteers thought that it was okay. Finally, it was all right. We can return home and we will have our responsibilities ready. And they come back, and after a few weeks, these volunteers says, no, we're not going to do it again. So after several tries, they just cannot get it to work. So finally, they said, it must not be this way. This is not the right thing. Maybe we're going at it the wrong way. So instead of flying over, they had backpackers. They had people taking bus for 3 days, 3 days and 2 nights. They use ground transportation, and they head from South Africa to Namibia to try to reach out to these people along the way. So it took them a total of 8 days, including travel time. They reach out there, they go to these places, and then they finally were accepted. And this is something that I found myself to be amazed because if it were up to me, I don't think I would do the same thing. If it were up to me, I would probably give up. I would probably stop. I would probably stop on the second time when they were telling us how they don't want to work with South Africa because there are all these voodoo witch doctors in Africa that they would kill for the organs of any foreigners. And that's why people from Namibia will not go. I would give up and say, well, maybe they're not prepared. Maybe they're not ready to go. And therefore, that is okay. We can just give up and wait for the right time. No, but they did not stop. They did not stop, and they continue. And I think ultimately, that is what is most important. They put on their armor of forbearance, their armor of endurance. And this is what I saw, that every story that we hear from the Africans, it truly represents something that we saw out of the Lotus Sutra. Do we remember that in the Lotus Sutra, that we have to put on the armor of forbearance and endurance so that we could truly see that all the difficulties we are still able to overcome. And that is something that I feel to be very, very important. And lastly, I wanted to share about the story from Indonesia. Indonesia is a little bit different. Indonesia is different in that, yes, they have different religion background, ethnicity, race, very similar to Africa. However, the difference is, well, it's part of Asia, and there's a much bigger Asian population in Indonesia. And ever since 2002, Tzu Chi volunteers have actually helped the Anke River, and we have built a Great Love Village. And in that village, there are schools and also new housing for the poor, so that we can relocate them from the riverbed of Anke River to a much proper residence in the Great Love Village. And when we do that, their lives have changed. Imagine 2002, that is about 15 years ago. 15 years ago, and the changes are amazing. 15 years seems like a very short time, but it's amazing because now that our schools, after 15 years, our schools have produced students that have blossomed. And there was a video, which I hope one day I can show you. There was a video where our students from the Great Love Village School, they were competing for Chinese speech contest. And the Chinese speech contest, you know, I myself, when I saw the speech contest, the winner, from our school, the representative from our school, who was actually the winner of the entire Jakarta. She was speaking with impeccable Chinese. And this was someone of Indonesian descent. And because they realized that Chinese was a very important language to learn, they learned it and our teacher taught it. And they have a brand new future in front of them. And she spoke with this impeccable Chinese that even is much better than my Chinese. Just like Dharma, I believe that African volunteers, or even the volunteers that do not have this, that have this language barrier, actually don't have this Dharma barrier. At the same time, our Indonesian volunteers have brought Dharma into Indonesia. And now the next generation of young people, they're able to speak the language and they're able to be connected to the global world with Chinese, not Indonesian, but with Chinese language. And that really gives us something that is very, very deep that we need to think. Buddhism came out of Buddha, came out of India 2,500 years ago. Now we are marching and embarking on the 52nd year of Tzu Chi Foundation. Master is still with us in Taiwan, speaking in Mandarin, in Taiwanese. But very quickly, how long? After 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, or 1,000 years, where would this be? Would this still be in Taiwan? Would this still be spoken in the same language as today? And how would we know? We would only know if we have Dharma in our heart. And that's the most important. For the Dharma to be ever living in the world, Dharma must first live in our heart. So seeing that it is now possible to have Buddhism all across the world, we must also, most importantly, to have Buddhism in our heart. And that is more important. And that is why Master spent all her time reminding all of us, sharing with all of us, that Buddhism can actually reach out to the richest and the poorest, and at the same time, enrich all of us just the same. There is no difference. We're all the same, whether we're from this race or that race, whether we speak this language or we don't speak the language. We're all part of the disciples of the first generation. And that's something that I think we should always remember. Okay, so that's the more of the complete sharing and story. And next week we will continue, as Master said today, we're going to continue with our Lotus Sutra starting from today. And so we will do our weekly review again for the next week. But always remember, and this is something that I found to be very, to remind myself with, Dharma is going to be in our heart. It's not always going to be from Taiwan. It's not always going to be spoken in the language that I will understand. But for whatever reason in the future, if it's going to be spoken in a language that I do not understand, I must make sure that I can remember and reach deep into my heart and know the meaning of the Dharma and know what it means to me. And that connection is even more important. And that's why I speak to all of you who have no background in speaking this language. Do not be afraid. Do not feel bad, because maybe 50 or 100 years later, this Dharma will be spoken in your language, in native language, and nowhere else. And all the other people, like including myself, we would have to go to your country and go to your place and speak your language and learn your language so that we can receive and retrieve the source of the Dharma. And that's very possible. And how do we do that? Well, if we can keep the Dharma in our heart. So Master is walking very quickly, one step there will be 8 footprints. She said there's no time for her to look back. She said that there is no time for her to look back. It's up to us to follow quickly. So let us continue and begin our 熏法香 every day, and let's not let up on this very important work to pass on the Dharma. Okay, thank you very much. I think right now we will continue with our opening up the sharing for different centers. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, brother and sister around the world. I'm very grateful to be given this opportunity to share with everyone this morning. I'm very, very grateful to brothers and sisters from Holland to take this effort to translate Master's sharing of Lotus Sutra in English to us. They have made me understand Dharma better and to share with whoever I meet them better. And I've been doing charity. I'm in helping cities in charity mission. And someone has seen me, working, doing charity in my community. And they asked me, are you all doing it for money, or does Tsuji pay us, or we're working for money? And after explaining to them that we are non-profit Buddhist organization, and money collected from the recyclables are turned into doing charity work. And after that, they found that, oh, we are going to do good work. And they do share. They take out their, from their home, they take out their recyclable for us. And yes, our recyclable collected in my community have increased. And they are also very grateful for what we have done. So after hearing all the Dharma from you all, I have more confidence. We can understand Dharma better. And I feel that I'm in the right place in Tsuji here. Thank you, brother and sister.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brother Ernst, sharing this now. So I think it's important for us to listen to the Dharma without leaking, and after we understand the meaning of the profound, the Wondrous Sutra, then we can aspire to our members, the Suji members or our friends. So I think this is more important. So we listen to the Dhamma without leaking, and we can share to others and what we have done, and we take the action to do what the sutra say. So I think this is more important. So everyone, we keep attending this very important in our life. So we must listen to what the master give us the teaching. So now we look at to the question for the couple of last 2 weeks ago. We received the questions is asking. You all guys open up the question on the PPT. So I look at the question. So I try to answer the question. One of the question. They say how to prevent regression from Bodhisattva path. I think if we have a deep faith on what on the Buddha's teaching, we truly have confidence of what the Buddha said and what our master said. In this way, I think we definitely find a way that this is the correct path, to put it the right thing that we can go. So I think for this question, to prevent regression is to cultivate our deep faith and confidence daily and daily, so we don't get affected by those ignorance or all the arrogance from others. So this is the question for what I can answer. And for another question, They say we are always being thought to be simple in Buddhist Dharma. However, interaction with other peoples is much more difficult and complicated. How do we learn to be simple in such situation? So I think, and this is sometimes when our volunteers they work together, definitely they have a different opinions and they find it's hard to agree on how to do things. So maybe they have gossiping or rumors. So for our masters, say, so when everyone insists on being on their right, and there will be a lack of harmony. If those with reason on their side can be equal, so they can generate their ways, everything will be resolved harmoniously. So if every person insists they are in the right and stubbornly maintains their own opinions, I think definitely we can get the thing to do well. So as Master say, arguing and being stubborn will create discord. So and another is just like the rumors or the gossiping start with the ignorance, and they will be stopped with the wise. So if we all, both listener and the speakers, and be mindful in our daily life. So when we are talk about the interpersonal issue, only to the wise, not to the ignorance. For those people who learn from the issue rather than create aggression, they can even help resolve the conflict. So Master say we have to keep practicing listen to Dharma so we can find a way how to solve this problem. So, and for another question, I think the question one is asking, some Tzu volunteers are enthusiastic to perform meritorious deeds, but do not like to listen to Dharma. There are also some joining a lot of Tzu activities, but limited time for Dharma teaching and wisdom and doubt. Would this cause any interferences? I think Master is saying for the simple way is we need to listen to Dharma. So the teaching of Buddha guides us to awaken our compassion and wisdom. So it's rather that we truly understand the sutra after hearing the master's teaching wisdom and Tao, or we recite the sutra. So if we have read or we have listened to the Dharma teaching, to put them into practice, this is we always mention, do we want to practice in our daily life? So if not, if we hear or chant the sutra without practicing or without truly actually understanding and put them into practice, so this is useless for us to hear. So I think Master says is no matter how much time we spend on listening to Dharma, or how much time that we attending all kind of activities, so it's important for us to understand the meaning of the sutra is to guide us the way, the correct path to walk, and we through the action, and we can, you know, the relationship between all the members among the people. So we will definitely find a way to solve problems, and because we have our San Zhi Si. So for those who give us the problem, so we don't get we don't get too much angry on that. So I think we should take it as a question, and for us this is for us to try to do it better. So I think this is important. Yeah. And I think the sister is going to answer another question.
Morning, brothers and sisters. This is Jing. So I'm going to share the question. So everyone have their own idealistic values and dreams. If we not seek or pursue, there will be no affliction. And we learn to let go. Will this cause us to be inactive or pessimistic? So we through discuss with our masters, and so we think this question need to be clarified. What meaning of let go? So let go means let go our affliction, not let go our idealistic values. So this need to be, you need to be clear about, the meaning. Yeah, let go will be good, but it's let go the bad or negative things, not let go the positive or the right direction. So, we remember yesterday when Master in Zigong Zhaohui, she also mentioned that she has one thing that she feels is very stubborn, that is she will, if this is rising, then she will be very stubborn to finish no matter what kind of difficulty or obstacle that in front of her. She still will just do it and just walk through all the difficulty that she mentioned, 折善固执. So to this question, that if your idealistic values and dreams is on the right path, on our, based on our Buddhism, that is the right direction, then we should insist and keep working on it, keep eliminate, all the, because our, the tactile tendency that to create all this affliction, then this kind of affliction we should let go. This is not easy, but this is why we need to cultivate on the path. So we need to train ourselves through, ask help from master, from your friends, or look at the master's book to find the answer to encourage yourself how to get off our affliction. But as long as our dream or values is correct, then we should, just like Master 折善固执, we should insist, pursue, and just keep going, keep doing it, then to this destination. Just like right now, we are all learning the Dharma because we know that every one of us could attain the Buddhahood. So there are so many challenge in front of us, and it's long time for us to walk through. But this is idealistic dream or values for us, then we should just insist this is the right way for us to keep going it. The same thing for 熏法相. 熏法相 is just like the method for us to attain the final destination, Buddhahood. So this is one of the methods for us to cultivate. So we should insist, no matter whether or any kind of challenge, and as long as this will benefit us, and in the future will benefit all the people around you, then we should keep going, keep doing it. So this is our the answer for this question of there is value for you. Thank you.
Okay, 感恩花莲, thanks to 花莲 master and also our sisters for sharing the response. I here have something I want to share as well to continue to add on to what was said. I think let me share the story first. So this is a story that is more of a joke, but it's something that is actually very interesting, and I think we should hear this. So in Taiwan or in China, when a monk became ordained, before they became ordained, they have to go before masters of precept. And the masters of precept will then have to ask them questions, similar to an interview, ask questions, and then they will have to answer. And some of these masters are more strict than others. They would hold a stick much bigger than my pen. This is a pen, not a stick, but they will hold a stick. And when you answer it wrong, they will hit you on the head. Okay, so like I said, it's a story, so don't believe in it completely, but it probably did happen. So the precept master asks, so why are you here? Why are you here? Who told you? Who asked you to be here? And so the novice monk replied, master, I'm here because my master said I'm ready. So right away, the master of the precept hit him on the head and said, so if your master didn't tell you, would you be ready? Would you be coming? You're here because of him, not because of yourself? And so, okay, rubbing the head, it's hurting. And then, oh, yeah, yes. So then the master of the precept asked again, why are you here? And so now the novice understand, doesn't want to be hit. I don't think anybody wants to be hit on the head, right? Especially asking the same question and got it wrong. So he said, I wanted to be here on my own. No one asked me to. So the master of the precept hit him on the head again. Like, why did you hit me? Because how could you be so arrogant that if your teacher didn't ask you to come and you come on your own? Who made you think that you have the virtue, that you are well known enough to be coming here to be ordained? So now he's putting both hands because he's being hit twice, right? So ask again by the master of the precept says, so let me ask you again, why are you here? So this time the novice, not yet taking the helmet, not yet, okay, because he thinks he's pretty smart, so he knows how to answer. So he said, holding his head, still reading from the pain, and almost passed out, but still remember how to answer. He said, I'm here because my master asked me to be here, and I really want to be here too. Is that right? And so the master of the precept hit him again on the head. Now this time, not the left, not the right, but the middle. Hit him. So I'm like, what did I say wrong? Wasn't that right? And the master of the precept said, I asked you a simple question. You gave me a very complicated answer. So that shows you that there isn't any right answer. There isn't any wrong answer. What was the master of the precept trying to do? The master of the precept is trying to make you think. It's trying to lead you into thinking deeper. And yes, I know, hitting people on the head is not going to help them think. It's only going to help them go to the hospital quicker. But the idea is, do we know why we're doing this? And there are many, many reasons why we're doing this. So I saw the questions. About, are we doing enough merit? Or are people liking to do like to do the deeds, but they do not like to participate and listen to the wisdom at dawn? Is that okay? The most important thing is everyone needs to know why they're doing this. And there is a step for them to take. And there is something that you need to go at your own pace. But at the same time, there are those virtuous friends that are next to you that are reminding you of what to do. So with that, and I hope that there isn't one specific answer, because the answer is all different. That is why Master in today's Dharma talk talks about the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, talks about the infinite Dharma doors will open in front of you. That means there isn't just one door. There are infinite number of doors that leads to Dharma, that leads to what we're supposed to do. That is the essence of our teaching. And the most important thing is to walk through that door. It's not to just say, wow, there's a million of them, there's an infinite number of them, so which one do I walk? And then begin to talk about it and never walk through. The most important thing is to walk, to pick one door and walk. And which door do we pick? We're thankful because we have a master to lead us. She led us and say, look, here is a door. And this door is called the Tzu path. I walk on it and I show to you, I prove to you that this is the path that is worthwhile in taking. And I will lead you if you are willing to follow. And that's what Master had been doing. So while there are infinite number of doors in front of us, he has shown us one path. But on this path, it won't be easy. Master said yesterday and today also that this path will be arduous, that this path will be difficult, and it will not be easy at all. But it's most important that we are willing and we believe her. And that's what Sister Debbie said, because the African volunteers, they have the deep faith in the teaching. And that is why they are following it so closely, even without the understanding of the language itself. So it's a very simple story to share with us that there is no perfect middle ground. Sometimes, for me, it's 30 Dharma talk and 70 deeds, right? And sometimes for other people, it's 40-60, it's 50-50. It really depends on our particular situation. Most important thing is we must remember while taking what we need, we're following the same path. And that goes back to what I shared earlier about the tree and the seed. The tree and the seed, no matter where it goes, as long as there is enough water, sunlight, and the dirt, then the seed will grow. However, every place will be different. In Africa, it might be drier. In Asia, it might be more humid. In some other places, it will be hotter. Some other places, it will be colder. So even though it has the same DNA, but it will grow out to be a little bit different, to adapt to what's local, to adapt to what's necessary. And that's the infinite Dharma doors, that there is no one set answer. And the most important thing is, right now, the chapter we're on, chapter 14, is the joyous and peaceful practices. That is telling us that while there are things that we do not wish to do, the things that we do is the one that will give us the most joy and the most peaceful. And that's what we need to find. Master is leading us on this path, but we need to find the perfect balance. So it's never an easy task. And we are learning to be wise, to have the wisdom, to be able to choose, to be able to find what is the perfect balance. Okay, so hopefully that would be able to provide a little bit different outlook onto what Dharma is. There is no set answer. That is for all of us to figure out and all of us to find. And the wisdom is in the finding itself, is in the process. It's not the answer, it's the finding of the answer. So thank you all. And I apologize for today's a little bit technical glitch, including the blipping sounds that's coming in and out. I apologize because after all, this is a new technology and we are adapting to. There are infinite number of ways that we can be connected, and we are now adapting to the newer platform, Zoom. And I believe that this will only get better. And I once again appreciate all of us, all of you, especially our master, and also the team from Hualien, and also every one of us from the Malaysia and all the brothers and sisters. We will get better with the platform, and I'm sure on this Dharma, on this path where we're searching and seeking the Dharma and wisdom together, we will all be growing and following closely Master's footsteps. So thank you again, and I'm sure next week we'll have much more the sharing from the Dharma talk from the Lotus Sutra. So we'll be looking forward to see all of you once again online. Okay, so if there's anything more that Hua Ding would like to add, it will be a good time to add. Otherwise, we can today we will okay, and then today that's it for today's sharing. And once again, thank you. You all of you have made this to be very special, and I think we're definitely doing the right thing. Last thing, Master on today's Dharma talk did mention about a group of volunteers, the foreign language volunteers that are helping with the translation of Master's Dharma. And you know who you are. And even if you're not doing it, the fact that you are hearing this and the fact that you will probably share with somebody who is not here, that means you are part of that team. You are part of the team to build the bridge between who have heard it and who have not heard it, and who have heard it in one language to translate to another language. We are all part of this team. And without this, and this is our way of spreading the Dharma and spreading the seed. And at the end of the day, our roots are all connected together. And for that, I'm grateful and I'm honored to be called connected root connected to all of you. So I'm honored. And thank you all. Thank you, Hua Dian. It's another very special day, and we will continue this next week. Thank you and goodbye.